Ay, we had another bad daily, and it's quite unfortunate because this seems to happen a lot. Every time I have a bad daily, I seem to have a few more bad dailies after that. I'm not really sure if that's just two variants, or maybe it's just me trying to overcompensate for having a bad daily, and because of that, I maybe end up making some mistakes because I maybe overthink things or whatever. And it's quite an unfortunate situation that we find ourselves in, but I think it's reasonable to some extent. I definitely think that this death was just a lot more justifiable than yesterday's one, just because of how the run went down. It was such a weak run in some regards, but it also seemed like it had a lot of potential, so I'm really interested in seeing what went wrong. Obviously, what I think the biggest mistake here was that I made a decision very early on about how I feel like the run should go, and maybe I had a strategy and plan, and I just stuck to that strategy like it was the only way to go about it, while kind of ignoring all of the other factors and variables that usually go in performing well in daily runs. And I'm really happy to break that down for you, but for now, we're not at that point yet. But at this point, it seems like it's going really good. We got Sinus Infection, it's just a good DPS item that you can get early on with any character, but I also think this in combination with Latchkey for Blue Baby is just one of the good starts that you can get. Combined with all of the Eternal Hearts and all of the other Spirit Hearts that we got naturally, we're such in a comfortable position because now we can afford not only to go to the shops because we have the keys and we can buy things with our money, but we can also afford to take devil deals and take some items out of it. In this case, just because we didn't get any other DPS items, I decided to take Sister Maggie because I think having some additional DPS is better than having none, and even if Sister Maggie is bad in some situations, just having an additional tier does help you kinda clear rooms just a bit better and just a bit faster. Latchkey is obviously great because it increases our luck, which means we'll get more chests, and because we have the red hand, it also means we'll get more red chests, and because of that, we'll get more spirit hearts, or at least that's the theory. And not only that, of course, we also have a chance to get a guppy or whatever, and then we can maybe snowball off that. Sadly, it didn't really turn out that good. We just didn't get a lot of chests in general, and even though we had the red hand, no, I don't think a single red chest actually paid out with anything good, so eventually I just decided to drop it because starving myself from consumables, which you would usually get from other chests, I don't think it was a good plan going forward, and especially I thought if we could do it, we could be a bit more frugal because of Spelunker's Hat, and Spelunker's Hat not only allows you to have a really efficient use of your consumables, because you're essentially always knowing where your secret rooms are or maybe what's hidden behind the door, so you can always make a very informed decision whatever you think it's a good idea to go maybe to that library, or maybe if you want to bomb the secret room or whatever. And in that situation, I felt like we could sacrifice some of the consumables we get from regular chests and trade them away from the red chest in potential of maybe getting some DPS upgrades. It didn't really turn out that way, maybe I just didn't stick with it long enough, but I definitely thought at some point it's a good idea to let it go just because they really weren't doing me any favors at that point. Maybe there was like a secret play that if you did stuck with the left hand, eventually one red chest would have teleported to the devil deal, and maybe that was a seam, you would have gotten a really good item out of that, and maybe things would have taken a turn there. But as it was, I thought the better choice was just to take the fake penny, which has a chance to give you double coins, and maybe spend some more money on the shop to get other items which might help me out in different ways. Besides that, we also got growth hormones and halitosis, and both of these items are not stellar. Growth hormones is maybe just a bit better than halitosis. Halitosis is great because it does have some AoE damage component to it, and it's essentially an added extra passive damage that is around you and which poisons enemies, which is not too bad. It does help in some situations. Overall, it's not a great item, at least not to the extent that I see it. Maybe it has again some hidden effects that we don't really know about yet, but at this point it's hard to believe. I just think it's maybe a subpar item, even though it has a very pretty particle effect around us. And growth hormones is okay in some situations. Having some speed is great, having a bit more of a damage up is okay, but just because we had a very low damage stat already, because our tiers were kind of slow, having an extra added damage on top of that won't really change anything too much. I had a decision to make here, and it was a decision I was talking about at the start of the video, is should I take the Emperor card, go to Mom, and then maybe do boss rush, or maybe what should I do from there? And I have a few options in this situation, and I'll go maybe from the worst to best. I definitely think the worst option is to go to Mom and then not do anything. Don't go to the Devil Deal, don't go to boss rush, but obviously that's a bad choice. I definitely think in this situation you have to make a decision. Should I go to the Devil Deal if I maybe don't have enough time, or should I go to boss rush? And in this case, because I ended the fight in 1955, a bit of a spoiler, is I decided that if I go to the Devil Deal and if there was a wall hugger in there, which is that Mom's hand Mom's Hand. Mom's Hand? I think it's Mom's Hand. Yeah, never mind. It's the Mom's Hand enemy, which essentially takes some time to actually calm down and damage you, and then takes you out of the room. And if that enemy was there with 5 seconds remaining, I don't think that we would actually be able to fight it and kind of complete it in time to actually get to boss rush again. And because of that, I decided I should just go to boss rush. I also thought, we had more items on average to pick out from, and they're free, and because we don't really have enough spirit hearts, even if there was a good item in the devil deal, even if I picked it up, I could have ended up dying, and that just wouldn't be a good proposition for everyone. So I decided to do boss rush in this case, and I definitely think this was a mistake. What I should have done was teleported to, or just not use the Emperor card at all. I should have explored the entirety of Necropolis or the depths or whatever it was, get to Mom and actually have some more spirit hearts, maybe from the shop, maybe get a good item from the treasure room or whatever, and then get a devil deal and then pick up if there were any good items in there. I could have then used my Emperor card to actually teleport to Hush, or to Mom's Heart to be more exact, do Mom's Heart and then go to Hush, and I think that would be a much better proposition, because first of all, I would have gotten much more exploration bonus, second of all, I would have taken much less damage, and third of all, I would have gotten much more stage bonus, just for actually going deeper, and I think overall that would have led me to having a much higher score. I thought that this was gonna be maybe a play that not a lot of people would have made, going to boss rush and trying to beat it, just because of maybe how preposterous it sounds, and I thought a lot of people maybe didn't have enough money to find that Emperor card because of the deck of cards. And in that situation, it was, I just thought it was a good idea. I thought this was going to give me the edge over other people, and it would probably if I did beat it, but just because it was a champion variant of boss rush, it had a lot of tough enemies, and in this case you can see that the stain just spawned on top of us. I didn't really have any way to detect that or maybe dodge that. It was just an unfortunate coincidence so that we had low HP and that enemies were hard, and that we just weren't dealing enough damage. Even though our damage was relatively high, 9.3, and because we had booger tears, sadly it just wasn't enough to actually get the boss rush in time and just kind of beat it. Maybe a bit of an unfortunate situation was that the boss rush contained some very difficult waves with a lot of enemies which kind of jumped around and just maybe teleported down, so booger tears weren't as effective, and also it's just hard to dodge for a prolonged period of time. But still, we did finish in a not so comfortable spot. At least our damage penalty was not that high and our item penalty was low, and those are maybe the silver linings. But I definitely think the mistake there was not exploring or not taking our time, and just maybe, in some situations it's always almost good not to do boss rush and Hush. I think at this point I'm just so indoctrinated and I just have this feeling that I have to do boss rush or Hush, and because of that I go maybe out of my comfort zone. I do it even though I think it's a bad idea, even though I know that I'm going to die, I still try to do it, and it ends up in me dying, which probably leads to a much worse score overall. It's a bit of a bummer. I hope that tomorrow's daily will be a bit better. Obviously I have no way of knowing that, but a man can only hope. So we'll see what happens. We have adventures ahead, but I definitely think that this one is at least a daily where we can learn something out of it, and I hope that it serves at least that purpose. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.